on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be changing the rear brake pads. Pretty worn out. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but I'll take out the brake pads so you guys can see. They never been changed, and I can tell they're pretty worn out. So in today's video we're going to change the brake pads, and we're also going to bleed the brakes as well. That's the rear brake reservoir here in the back. And then the front one, obviously you guys know it's up here. So we're going to use a T40 to remove these two bolts here. I'll show you guys what we're going to use for this one. I've seen other videos that you guys don't need to take out the bolts or the caliper, but I'm going to go ahead and clean inside the caliper because it's probably too dirty. There's videos that you can just pop this open and pull out the brake pad. But we're not going to be doing shortcuts today. We're going to go ahead and remove the whole caliper out. So let me go ahead and remove these two bolts. And you can loosen up this now, but if you take it off all the way, once you lift the caliper up, the brake pads are going to fall. So let's start by the two bolts. There's a little clip behind the swing arm that you're probably gonna loosen up so you can have more play to pull the caliper back. So it's just on a tab. There we go. So now you have more play on the cable. Should be able to remove the whole caliper. So you see I didn't take off this part, this pin here, because it's holding the two brake pads. You can see how worn out they are. Probably like a few more miles left, but we're gonna go ahead and remove them. So we're gonna set this down. So for this one, I don't have the 12-point. Yeah, it's a 12-point socket. I don't have the actual one. I have the universal ones, and I know for a fact it's 1 1/4. It's a 1 1/4 socket. So this is why you can loosen it up while the caliper is in place. It's not too bad. Looks pretty good. It's a little worn out. Might want to change it next time around. You change the brake pads. It's not too bad. So we have our brake pads here. Also, you're gonna want to open up your reservoir for the fluid there, for the brake fluid, so you can push these back. And I'm gonna go ahead and clean that off camera, so I'll get back to you guys. So I removed the cap out of the rear reservoir, and you can tell how low that was. So definitely at 10,000 miles you want to check it. Check the brake pads. Check the rear reservoir brake fluid. So yeah, that's why we're making this video, guys. Make sure you guys do the maintenance on your bike or take it to a shop. Alright, so I went ahead and cleaned the caliper. I used PJ1 Pro Brake Cleaner. Looks a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and put back the brake pads, the old ones. And we're going to push back where the pistons. And we're going to go ahead and put back the new brake pads that I got. I'll show you guys which ones I got. So we put our old brake pads And what you want to do is try to get leverage, pushing back the pistons. Make sure your reservoir is open so it can help you out, push back all that pressure that the piston has. You want to open up the caliper here because the brake pads are going to be a lot newer. We're going to go ahead and put this back just to help us keep the old brake pads in place. That's why I didn't want to do the shortcut on putting the brake pads, because it seems like it's just too rush, and you want to make sure you're able to see inside of the caliper and not just throw on the brake pads, but whichever way you guys want to do it. So as you guys can see, the two pistons are fully back in there. Alright guys, now you guys can see it's nice and clean. Also want to check this clip here that's going to be holding your brake pad, and make sure you check this one that's still in place. This will be holding the brake pads in place as well. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of lube on the back just so it won't squeak, and we're also going to lube up the new brake pads on the back. And for the old brake pad, you're going to have this metal piece here. You're going to want to take it off out of the old brake pad because you're going to be using it on your new ones. The other side doesn't have it. So let me go grab the new brake pads so I can show you the ones that I went with, and we're gonna go ahead and install it. Alright, so the brake pads that I'm going with are the Lindell brake pads. They're a little bit better than the stock ones, and I wanted to go all fancy and change the rotors and the calipers, but until you guys subscribe, then I'm gonna go ahead and change it. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see me do rotors and some calipers on the bike. Don't forget to subscribe guys to see that happen. So I'm going with this Motul brake fluid. These are the Lindell brakes. I went with the Z, so they're not gonna be too squeaky. I'll put the information on the brakes because there's 3 kinds that Lindell has. So they run cool and they're quiet. And they give you instructions here, but there's three types of brake pads, and I just went with the Z type. You guys know about the Lindell brake pads, then you guys know what I'm talking about. And these are for the rear. So we're gonna go ahead and install the rear brake pad right now. We're gonna lube up the back. Alright, so good news guys. The Lindell brake pads does come with that metal brace or spacer, or whatever you guys want to call it, so we don't have to use the old ones. So let me lube it up. Like I was saying, you really don't have to put lube, but just so it won't squeak. So I'm gonna use the grease here. I was talking about I was gonna lube it, but I guess we're gonna grease it up. I used this on the sports bike that I used to have. Grease up the back. You have to put a lot, but just a little bit. Just the back. Make sure nothing gets in front of the brake pad because you'll lose your brake power. Also on the back, it's probably gonna be hard for me to show you guys. They go in here like this. You can grab and throw the pin on there. You also want to clean it, so you grab your pin, make sure it goes inside of the brake pad, tighten it up a little bit. So we got one side in. I'm gonna make sure the brake pads are not in the way because the caliper has to go all the way down. So make sure you can also push this little bushing, push it back so it won't get stuck on here. And then you also want to make sure everything looks lined up before you start putting in the bolts. Also make sure, I don't know if it's going to pick it up because it's kind of dark in here. You're going to see the brake pad. It's going to sit on that aluminum like bracket that I was showing you guys earlier. So we're pretty much good to go. The brake pads are on the aluminum bracket. You want to do hand tight. Just a little bit so you're able to line up the bottom bolt. If you guys feel like you guys don't need the grease, you guys don't have to put it on there. So now also you want to check your torque spec on the bolts here. so we torqued down everything, 2 bolts. We put back our brand new brake pads. So you are going to be getting this shakiness because the pistons inside the caliper are not grabbing the rotor here. So I'm going to go ahead and add the multi-tool brake fluid. I'm already bleeding the brake, so I'm going to go ahead and add it. And you want to be switching your brake fluid twice a year. Or for this type of brake fluid, you want to do it once a year. You also want to make sure there's no debris in it. Now that you have the brake fluid, you want to go ahead and start pumping the brakes so the caliper can grab. Until it gets really hard. So you want to come back here and you want to check caliper's it's not moving anymore, so you're all set. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for the rest of the video, how to change your brake pads. Let me know what you guys think of the work. What do you guys recommend or how to do it better? But this is how I'm doing it. Don't forget to follow your torque specs. But that's it. Stay tuned for tomorrow.